This is CBN News Watch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN News Watch for this Friday, December 27th. I'm Mark Martin. Heavy snow, ice, rain, and strong winds take aim at a large part of the country. The National Weather Service has posted winter storm watches across western Nebraska, southeastern Wyoming, and parts of Kansas. As George Thomas reports, the storm system has already hit California and parts of the western U.S.
The wicked weather creating havoc for post-Christmas Day travelers in Southern California as portions of Interstate 5, 8, and 15 had to be shut down after 2 feet of snow pummeled the area on Thursday. According to a local TV station, on Interstate 5, about 150 cars and trucks got stuck due to snow and ice. Drivers had to wait several hours for snowplows to clear roads. One driver posting this picture on his Instagram account saying, "This storm is truly the Grinch that stole Christmas." Stuck on the grapevine.
To go straight forward, I was just getting too scared, but it was horrible. It was crazy.
Some 62,000 customers in California also lost electricity due to the winter storm. Meanwhile, the Nevada Department of Transportation had to close portions of State Route 160 due to dangerous road conditions, leaving desperate travelers trying to get home or to work stranded on the highway for hours.
I've turned around twice. I came over the pass to go to work, and because of the weather, we didn't work, so trying to get back home.
The storm system also brought torrential rainfall, causing flooded streets in parts of LA County. Some commuters insisting on barreling through the freeway-turned river ended up getting stuck and had to be rescued by emergency crews.
Pretty bad out there, like windshield wipers, full blast.
The winter storm is expected to last through the weekend across the country and be done just in time to ring in the new year. George Thomas, CBN News.
Overseas, the death toll is at 28 in the Philippines following Typhoon Phanphone, and it's expected to rise. A disaster agency spokesman also said at least 12 people are still missing. Phanphone's winds gusted up to 124 miles per hour and plowed through the central Philippines Thursday, damaging villages and areas known for tourism. The storm hit on Christmas Day and forced tens of thousands living in coastal and low-lying areas to evacuate and spend the holiday in evacuation locations. It also hit Boracay Island, which is a popular resort area, drawing more than 1 million tourists a year. The holidays are giving America a bit of a break from the partisan politics and impeachment furor in Washington. CBN's Abigail Robertson gives us a look at what to expect in the Senate, with both sides going forward into 2020.
The Senate is preparing for an impeachment trial in the new year, but an unexpected twist could put those plans on hold. After getting the votes, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is waiting to confirm if and when she will turn the articles over.
Clearly, do you understand? When we see what their process is, we will know who and how many we want to send over.
Pelosi claims she wants to ensure there will be a fair process in the Senate, but Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell suspects another motive for the hesitation.
It looks like the prosecutors are getting cold feet in front of the entire country and second-guessing whether they even want to go to trial.
President Trump accused Pelosi on Twitter of being afraid to present it to the Senate. Senate Democrats want 4 witnesses to come forward: Mick Mulvaney, Robert Blair, John Bolton, and Michael Duffy, witnesses the White House blocked from testifying in the House.
We ask, is the president's case so weak that none of the president's men can defend him under oath?
But McConnell prefers no witnesses and hopes to move quickly, acquitting President Trump.
This particular House of Representatives has let its partisan rage at this particular president create a toxic new precedent that will echo well into the future.
While enjoying a degree of bipartisan support against impeachment, President Trump took heat from both parties Thursday for taking a shot at late Michigan Congressman John Dingell. Recounting a conversation with Dingell's widow, he implied the World War II vet who served 60 years in the House might be in hell.
Maybe he's looking up, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe.
A move CBN News chief political analyst David Brody warns could cost Trump in Michigan, a state he won by 0.23% in 2016.
He needs every single vote to win this battleground state of Michigan. And let's be honest, if I could use this intellectual word, dumb comments by Donald Trump, unforced error.
Congressman Dingell's widow, Debbie, who now serves in his old congressional seat, says as she prepares to spend her first holiday season without her husband, Trump's hurtful words make her healing that much harder. Reporting from Capitol Hill, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu will continue to lead the Likud party after a stunning victory in a snap primary, leading to a third election in the nation after a gridlock over which party would lead. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl has that story.
In his victory speech, Netanyahu thanked all those who braved stormy weather to vote for him.
I fought for them and they fought for me. They know that I give my life for the country and my victory is their victory. This is a tremendous victory because we also overcame the fake polls and fake news that is already trying to dwarf the victory.
Netanyahu won 72.5% of the vote against his challenger, Gideon Sa'ar. And Netanyahu won 99 out of 106 polling stations across the country. Netanyahu talked about his tenacity on behalf of Israel in international affairs over the last 11 years.
I stood strong and alone in opposition to the whole world against the Iranian nuclear deal that endangered not only our security, but also our existence.
And he thanked President Trump for the things Israel obtained during the last 3 years.
I'm asking you to see what we obtained in just the last 3 years. 2017, the American recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. 2018, the moving of the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem and their exit from the nuclear agreement. 2019, American recognition of our sovereignty in the Golan Heights.
Netanyahu did not mention his primary challenger. After it was clear Sa'ar had lost, he phoned Netanyahu and congratulated him. He said he and his supporters would back Netanyahu in the upcoming general elections. For Netanyahu, this was only the first hurdle. He still faces serious legal charges of fraud and bribery. And twice in this past year, neither Netanyahu nor his opposition succeeded in forming a government. Many think that will be the case again after the next round of elections.
So no matter who wins these primaries, it seems the results will be the exact same, which is that nobody can still form a coalition. In other words, the results exactly the same as the previous two inconclusive elections.
Still, it was a big victory for Netanyahu. And Israelis across the political spectrum are still hoping that the March 2nd elections will lead to a new government. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
In other news, a memorial service has been planned to celebrate the life and legacy of evangelist Reinhard Bonnke, founder of Christ for All Nations. Evangelist Franklin Graham described him as a man whose heart burned with compassion for people's souls. Bonnke passed away on December 7th at the age of 79, surrounded by his family. For 6 decades, the renowned German-born evangelist crisscrossed the African continent, telling people about the love of Jesus Christ. Affectionately known as God's General, Bonnke spent a remarkable 60 of his 79 years preaching the gospel. He was well known for his massive crusades in Africa, where an estimated 77 million people gave their lives to Christ. Wow, what a legacy. Coming up, from the 50-yard line to the Supreme Court, one coach's fight for the free expression of his faith.
I am Regent's first ROTC graduate student.
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torres Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
Get the top political news and analysis from Washington on Faith Nation, tonight at 6 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel.
Welcome back to Newswatch. A silent prayer at the 50-yard line leads a coach to lose his job. Coach Joe Kennedy told our John Jessup that he's not bitter, but he's fighting for his religious freedom and for the rights of others to express their faith.
About an hour-long ferry ride from downtown Seattle and across the Puget Sound sits the city of Bremerton. And this is Bremerton High School, as you can see, known as an Achievement Award winner among Washington State public schools. It is also known as being home to a legal battle involving a high school football coach and prayer that's gone all the way to the Supreme Court.
We had one successful year the whole time I was here, and we won the championship.
Joe Kennedy loves the team he coached on this field for years, still proudly sporting the school colors.
Everything, even down to my t-shirt, is Bremerton Knights.
In 2015, that pride turned to disappointment when the school district suspended him for a different public display, prayer.
At the beginning, it was kind of awkward to me because I was just giving thanks, and I had a couple of kids, and they came up and said, "Hey, Coach, what are you doing out there?" And I was like, "Just giving thanks for what you guys did."
These silent post-game prayers on the 50-yard line caught on, spilling over to his players and even opposing teams. School officials worried, though, this might give the impression that the district approved of the coach's public prayers, creating a potential endorsement of religion. They eventually fired Coach Kennedy. He calls that decision a violation of his free speech.
No one should ever have to choose between living their faith and their job.
His attorneys at First Liberty Institute argue this case is about the First Amendment and religious liberty.
Coaches, teachers, students do not shed their constitutional rights just by walking onto a football field at a public school.
Coach Kennedy's stance has sparked passion, with big-name supporters weighing in and critics who say he's just plain wrong.
I talked about the challenges of being a Christian in a place like Seattle.
Dory Monson is a popular right-leaning Seattle radio host who's addressed the case on his show.
To be a successful coach, you have to bring a diverse group of kids together. I think once a coach starts imposing his faith in a public school, then I think you have challenged bringing those kids together.
For him, this hits close to home. As a Christian and former coach, he quietly prayed for his players during games. He cites concerns about the country's religious diversity in disagreeing with Coach Kennedy's approach.
If my kids were playing on a sports team and that coach happened to be Muslim, I wouldn't want that coach praying with my kids. And so I felt like as a Christian, it was not my responsibility to pray with the girls that I was coaching at the public high school.
Kennedy emphasizes his prayers were never mandatory.
I had some parents that I don't want my kid involved in that, and I respected that. That is their right as a parent. And it was never a forced thing. It wasn't even an asked thing.
Early this year, the Supreme Court declined to consider the case. 4 justices, however, expressed potential interest if the case explored whether the school's demand for Coach Kennedy to stop praying violated his right to practice his religious beliefs based on the First Amendment's free exercise clause.
We consider that, in a little opinion, our roadmap to victory in Coach's case, and so we're going to follow that now.
For now, the case is back in district court, and Coach Kennedy's returned to the football stadium to support the team, but from a different point of view.
So now when you do the football games, are you up here in the bleachers?
Matter of fact, I sat right there Friday night. I'm still thankful for being able to come here, and then we still got a team, and I still see these young guys out here and seeing them out there praying still out on the 50, so that's kind of cool.
That legacy lives on.
Yeah.
While he misses the kids, he says he's no longer bitter about losing his job.
I was blessed for 8 years with these guys, and it was just awesome. And I look at my blessings instead of what I lost.
Still, as a Desert Storm Marine veteran, Kennedy says the fight is bigger than him.
Praying I could do anywhere. The Christian side of me was like, yeah, well, you don't take away my faith. Prayer makes no difference where you do it. But the Marine in me, I was like, yeah, I will fight for the Constitution and everybody's rights. It means something to me. I got blood in that game.
The Bremerton School District declined our request for an interview citing the ongoing case. The attorney representing the school district also declined our interview. John Jessup, CBN News, reporting in Bremerton, Washington.
Still ahead, their plane crashed, caught on fire. God showed up and they lived to tell about it.
To have sex before you marry is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire, Monday night at 9:30. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Watch The Global Lane, Thursday night at 9:30.
Check out the CBN News Daily Rundown podcast each weekday with me, Caitlin Burke. Click on the show tab at cbnnews.com where you can listen and subscribe.
Thanks for staying with us. A pilot and his wife take off on a routine flight up the East Coast that turned out to be anything but routine and ended with a miracle by the hand of God that saved their lives after a crash landing in a fiery plane.
When my clothes are burning, my hair, more than anything, that was the moment when I thought, now you're going to die.
August 30th, 2015. Ken McKenzie and his wife Sonia were preparing to fly from Fort Lauderdale to Washington, D.C., with a quick stop in Lynchburg, Virginia to see their daughter, Monica. Ken had over 36 years of flying experience in the Royal Canadian Air Force and later for commercial airlines in Canada and the U.S.
Every flight is going to have different aspects to it. It's a different mission. But on this particular day, I think we're probably just more excited to be going to see Monica than anything.
I am not quite as comfortable flying and doing adventuresome things as Ken, so there's always just a few butterflies in my stomach.
Finally, Ken got clearance to take off.
We got to about 3,800 feet when I was doing my internal scan of the instruments, and I noticed that the oil pressure was significantly lower than it should be. Oil pressure on the aircraft should be 60 pounds per square inch, and this was actually 9.
At once, Ken radioed the tower and turned back toward the airfield.
When I heard him say 864 Kilo Mike declaring emergency, it's like a lump just went right here.
We were planning as if the engine would fail and hoping that it was just an indication issue and that we would be able to land and find that, oh, some probe was not functioning well.
I never really thought this is how we die. I knew I was really, really nervous, but we have to come out of it. We're going to come out of it.
I called air traffic control and said, we have the airport visual. And they said, we confirm you have the airport visual. Switch to Fort Lauderdale Executive Tower. And I hit the radio button to do that, and the engine stopped. And things got really quiet.
And now he declares a Mayday. That's a new level of now the anxieties is super intense.
My first responsibility is to figure out how to get us on the ground safely. Can I make the runway? No. Can we land in the town? Because we're right over Fort Lauderdale, but that's probably not going to go very well. Very, very fast airplane, and when it touches down, it's really moving fast. It's doing over 100 miles per hour.
Ken decided their best option was to try and land on a narrow gravel levee between the edge of town and the Everglades swamp.
Ran all the emergency checklists, got everything all ready for the landing. Then we had time to reflect and say, we got a couple minutes here, or seconds. We should pray now.
I knew at the time I didn't need to have an eloquent prayer. Dear Father, I'm in this time of need. He clearly knew, so I just said, oh God.
Ken landed on the levee going over 120 miles per hour, trying to keep control of the aircraft.
We started bouncing all over the place. We slowed to about 55 or 60 knots, and the nose starts to drift to the left because as it slows down, I'm starting to lose directional control. We've got this really strong crosswind, and then the left landing gear fell off the top of the levee, and it broke off.
And we spun around really quickly, almost to that the wind was knocked out of me.
When I looked over Sonia's shoulder to see where we were going, all I saw was flames. And we came to a stop, and now the entire airplane's engulfed in flames. I thought we might not get out of this alive.
I remember being really, really hot, warm, and the screen in front all red. That's when it went through my head, oh, this is how it feels to die in an airplane crash.
I stepped out onto the wing. The wing's on fire. The first thing I felt was pain, and it started with my leg. And as I got the rest of my body out, it went to my arm, and it went to my head and my chest, and just intense pain, unlike anything I'd ever felt before.
He reached for my hand to pull me, and I'd forgotten my headset on, and so it jerked me back.
And our hands slipped, and she fell back into the airplane. More than anything, that was the moment when I thought, now you're going to die. Because I'm not leaving you behind. So either I'm going to get you out, or I'm going to die trying.
And then he grabbed my hand and pulled.
And up she came out of the seat. Here I am standing on the wing, burning away. When my clothes are burning, my hair. And when Sonia comes out on the wing, there's a circle around us, now of no flames.
Then the fire parted, leaving a clear path to the canal. Ken and Sonia jumped into the water and swam away from the burning wreckage. They climbed back onto the levee to wait for help.
I started to feel a little bit elated. I think we were both a little bit elated, like we lived, and we're here. So almost an excited feeling.
Emergency personnel rushed Ken and Sonia to the hospital. Sonia had minor burns to her head, while Ken sustained second and third degree burns over 8% of his body, which required painful cleaning and multiple surgeries. 3 weeks later, he was released to go home. That Thanksgiving, the family met at the crash site to remember and to give thanks to God for saving their lives.
All I could feel was a sense of foreboding as to what could have happened, and a sense of true gratefulness and joy.
We gathered in a circle and prayed and thanked God for keeping us alive. And so it was kind of almost more a celebration, being happy we made it.
The Mackenzies still enjoy flying together and often share their faith in a God who still does miracles.
Sharing my faith has become a heck of a lot easier. Fulfill what God's called you to do and actually get out there and do it.
We don't want to forget these experiences or take them for granted. So we need to share how God has, saved us literally, and how our faith has brought us through, and maybe it can help somebody else as well.
Powerful testimony. Coming up, Kanye West's latest album is out this week, celebrating the birth of Jesus.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
On the home front, Tuesday morning at 10:30.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government.
My focus has been trying to really make sure we have the future leaders we need for the bench and the bar and for society generally.
You'll learn from highly credentialed leaders who are current and former judges, distinguished scholars, and ACLJ counsel.
I'm so glad I chose Regent. The relationships here have been amazing. The faculty have been amazing. Not everybody's called to the same thing when they leave law school, but they're called by God who has a purpose for their lives, and He is going to use that education to make a difference in the world.
Regent will prepare you to be a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer. To start your rewarding law career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July. Apply today.
Young people, millennials, are flocking to church.
It's not an exaggeration to say that we love to meet them and that we love to know their stories.
Kanye West released his latest album on Christmas Day. It's called Jesus is Born and is a celebration of our Savior with 19 songs with the Sunday Service Choir and a mix of hip-hop and gospel music. It features new songs like West's Ultra Light Beam and traditional gospel songs like Balm in Gilead. West and his Sunday services are hugely popular across the country, with one of the latest being held at Lakewood Church in Houston with Pastor Joel Osteen. West talked with Osteen about how he turned to God in a dark time. West told Osteen and the Lakewood congregation and the millions watching online, the arrogance and pride that put him on top of the music industry is now being used for the glory of God. Another awesome testimony. That's it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen by emailing newswatch@cbn.com. Thanks for watching.